Hello, and welcome to Talk with a Hawk, an official podcast of The Signal, the independent student media at UHCL. In each episode, we have open and honest chats with students about different subjects. This week, we are starting out with a special Halloween edition on spooky experiences.
Okay, so something spooky that happened to me is when I was back in Puerto Rico. I stayed at a motel with my family, and every time we would either be going into the motel or leaving it, it was this really long road, and we would always see this one old man, and we never knew what he looked like, but he was just like, he just looked really like homeless. He had on this a hat on, and he was always holding a bag, and we would see him every time. Like if we were leaving in the morning, we'd see him. If we're coming back home or going back to the hotel like 3 in the morning, we'd see him. And I was like, I told my parents one day, I was like, isn't it so weird that we keep seeing the same man on the road? Like it doesn't matter what time of day, he's always there, just with his head down, holding a bag. So one day, I told my stepdad to stop the car, because I was like, there's no way like this man is walking every day. So we were like, he's still driving, and then he stops the car and he's like, you're right. We look back and the old man isn't there anymore, and there's no other place he could have gone. So we were always thinking, we're like, this motel, it's like, one, it's so old, we see the same guy all the time, his head is down, we don't know what he looks like, and then when the one time we want to actually acknowledge him, he disappears. So we always have this joke that he's a ghost, and I really hope he doesn't find this video.
So my scary story is, it's more of like a real life thing that really freaked me out as a kid. So I used to have this doll that I used to draw on. It was like one of those, like, it was like the weird Barbie of my collection. And I had it in my closet for a really long time. And then one night, I'm pretty sure it was paranoia, but it was like thundering, it was dark, and the closet that I had the doll in, it slowly opened and the doll fell forward, and that literally made me scream and go cry to my parents. And to this day, that doll, I still have that doll and it freaks me out. So that's my scary story.
So this is a story, it's not necessarily a scary one, but it's whenever I was little, I was about like 6 years old, and I shared a room with my sister, and my dad, I didn't know this at the time, but he kept on seeing this ghost cat, but he would only ever see like the half end of the cat walking around corners and stuff. And he would see it a lot. He like out of his corner of his eye. We didn't have a cat, but he would see this like cat walking around corners, or like he would only ever see the butt of the cat. And I believe it was like a Sunday morning, and I was getting ready for church with my sister, and we were trying to pick out our outfits. And we had one of the low like clothing hanger racks, and I was like standing right here, and I kind of turned and I see all my hangers moving, and I see a cat like walking on top of my hangers, like the back end of the cat. And my sister, apparently she saw it too. She said that she saw like it for like a split second, and we all, of course, we were like young kids, so we freaked out. We were like, we just saw like a ghost cat. And then my dad was like, I see that too, but like he never talked about it. And I just thought that was cool that we had a little ghost cat in our house whenever I was a kid.
My ghost story is I used to live in a condo that was haunted. I'm pretty sure he was just a really grumpy ghost, but I moved into a condo by myself after I got out of a really not so great relationship. And as I was living there, it was my dad's condo. He was basically using it as storage because he lived in Utah at the time with my stepmom. So there was just boxes piled everywhere. It's kind of dusty. It really felt like the atmosphere was very creepy. Let's just say that. So as I'm moving things around, it just felt like I was always being watched. And I kind of made a section of myself in the living room. And the first night that I was there, I was really scared. And so my friend was like, oh, here, take this knife, my pocket knife, just so that you feel safe. But I wasn't really scared of ghosts at the time. I was more scared of a person. So I went to sleep, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and my room door was open, and it looked straight down the hallway to the staircase. And as I'm looking at the staircase, there's a window to the side where lights from the street are coming in, and there is a silhouetted figure of a man standing on the second part of the stairs. and he's standing there, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's somebody in my house. I can't believe it. This first night somebody broke in. But he starts walking towards me, and I'm freaking out at this point. And so I'm very slowly reaching for this pocket knife, and this figure, this silhouetted figure, is coming down on top of me, and I start screaming, and then I wake up and I realized, oh my gosh, I think I was having a bad dream, but it felt so real. And my hand was on my nightstand where the pocket knife was. So I kind of let it go. After that, just things happen, like items would go missing and I couldn't find them. They'd pop up in random places. And I'm really good about leaving my keys. Like I have a key bowl. I put my keys in the key bowl every time. I don't ever really change that ritual. Doors would open randomly, which could be other things, but they would be locked sometimes and they would be open. I would see shadow figures moving around boxes out of the corner of my eye. Sometimes when I was looking at it, it would look like somebody would walk past certain things. But after, I felt like I was going crazy. And then I started dating this guy, and he came over, and we were sitting on the couch in my basically makeshift living room in a storage area. And we're having this conversation, looking back and forth, like just staring, facing each other. And he keeps looking over at these boxes and just keeps looking over there. And I was like, hey, like, you good? And he was like, I'm sorry, is your house haunted? And I swear my stomach just dropped. I was like, yes. And I felt completely validated in that moment. Also, I didn't feel like I was crazy. And I was like, I think it is. And he's like, yeah, there is a shadow that keeps walking around over there and like peeking around the boxes at us. And I was like, yeah, that's my ghost. I honestly think he was attached to something that my dad had. I'm not going to say my dad was a hoarder, but he was very organized in all of the things that he collected. And I think I think it was just some grumpy ghost that was attached to something. And he got used to living in this place by himself. And then I moved in and was really loud and moved everything around. And I just think I think he just wanted his peace and quiet back because I was wild and crazy back then. But yeah, that's it. Thank you.
My scary story happened a couple of years ago. It was during a time where I was like really interested in a lot of like ghost hunting like videos and things. So I would watch them all the time. And because of this, I'm like a firm believer that like what you watch and stuff like kind of like you attract it. So during this time, I watched a specific documentary that was really like weird, creepy, and for like every Saturday following that time, I would get our fire alarms would go off, which was like, okay, that's kind of weird. Like it's only on Saturdays, whatever. Then like more stuff started happening. We had friends come over. They're like, oh, I feel like something's like weird. I feel like I saw something out of the corner of my eye, and I was like, oh, like whatever. I started feeling like I was being watched a lot, just like in my house that I've lived in forever, and just weird little things that I was like put off as nothing. So one day I woke up and I went into my living room and I needed something for my sister. And so I was calling for her and I was saying her name. She wasn't answering me. And I knew she was awake. I passed her room. She was awake. And the distance is not very long. And our house is not very big. So I knew she could hear me. So I was yelling for her. And then finally I hear, yeah. And I was like, can you bring this to me? And she was like, what? And I was like, can you like come here, like bring this to me? And she was like, oh, okay. And so then I'm standing there, I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting. And then I'm like, okay, what the heck? So I call her, because she hadn't come yet. And she answers. I'm like, hey, can you like bring me this thing? And she was like, yeah. I'm like, okay. I was like, did you not hear me like asking you about it like 5 minutes ago? And she was like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, what the heck? Because I swear something like responded to me, something answered me. And so she brought it to me. I was like, are you like joking? Like, did you actually like, are you just messing with me? And she was like, no, like I promise. I didn't even hear you yelling. Like, I don't know what that was. And so then I went and asked the people in my house with my mom. She was in a completely different part of the house. Like she didn't hear us talking at all. And then my other sister was asleep. So and my sister like swears up and down that she did not yell anything. She did not say anything. She didn't even hear me calling for her. So after that, I kind of like took a step back from all of my ghost hunting things. I was like, I think I need to take a break from this. And then I like stopped paying attention and it kind of like died down. But yeah, that is my story.
So I'm here, I guess, giving a story. I was 18, and I grew up in a small town, like 3,000 people in the middle of like nowhere, Karn City, Texas, which is about an hour south of San Antonio, so not too off from the border, too far off from the border. I grew up with stories, like Native American stories specifically, because my grandmother, she is half Apache. So I grew up with a lot of Native American stories and stuff like that. And I try to be grounded in reality with always a degree of skepticism, because like I believe in what I can see and what is tangible and what science but at the same time, I think that not keeping an open mind and being ignorant is the last thing you want to do. And so I would say, like, especially as a Christian, that there are definitely things we don't understand. And I have kind of a story regarding that. I was 18, so this was 3 years ago. Yeah, 3 years ago. And I was still living in Karn City at the time. I hadn't moved to Houston yet. And I was out hunting with my best friend at the time. And this is something we did a lot. There wasn't really much else to do in the middle of nowhere besides hunting, fishing, hiking, all that kind of stuff. And one thing we did pretty often was, we did deer hunting. Technically, you're not supposed to deer hunt at night, so supposedly I was, not there, but I was whatever. And we were deer hunting, and not even deer hunting specifically. We were actually looking for hogs that night. But we specifically were kind of looking out for anything. If we got a deer, we got a deer for the meat. And we both had thermals on our guns. We each had our AR-15s, and that's what you hunt hogs with. And I was alone at the time because my buddy was in the shop. He was going to walk back out because basically he had the shop right here, and then maybe 50 yards in front of the shop you had the pasture that sat in about 100 and 150 acres. It was lightly wooded. You had some mesquite trees because it was South Texas. And I see a deer, my thermal, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'll ask my buddy if he wants it. And so I, tap on the door because he's sitting in the shop at the time. He comes out with his gun and he looks at it through his thermal. And we're sitting there kind of looking at it, and it turns up and looks at us, which is normal behavior at first. But the weird thing is like, I don't know, at first, generally speaking, in that area, because deer are going to act different in every area, they're supposed to usually run off after they see you. They're not, acclimatized to human beings. They're not acclimated to human beings, and so they're going to run off 9 out of 10 times. And so it looks at us, and it doesn't really seem to be scared of us. Usually what they'll do is they'll look at you and they'll kind of, with their hooves, you know what I mean? They'll kind of stomp the ground a little bit. And it didn't. And I couldn't tell if it was a doe or if it was a buck, whatever. But it doesn't stomp at us. It just kind of just looks at us, just solid. And we're like, okay, that's kind of weird. So I, get my flashlight because I was looking at it through my thermal, and I shine it. Weirdest thing is no eye shine. Generally speaking, deer will have eye shine, so that was weird. I'm thinking, okay, whatever, maybe it's not bright enough. And the strangest thing is, it's in there just, looking at us, no eye shine. And we decided to walk out to it. Okay, so we start kind of walking out to it. Still hadn't run off. We're maybe 50 yards from it at this point. That's weird. It should be able to see us. So we're getting closer and closer, and we're 20 yards from it. So, basically you can just throw a baseball and just about hit it. And still hadn't run off. Just been looking at us the whole time. And I'm thinking, okay, that's not normal. It sees us. We're sitting there looking at it through our thermals. It's looking right at us. And my buddy decides, okay, he can tell at this point it's a buck because you can see the blood vessels going through its horns and everything. So its horns come off the thermal signature. Sitting there looking at us. So he kind of crouches down and he's ready to take the shot. And now I want to preface this. My best friend, one time as a party trick, took his AR and he shot a cell phone camera out of a cell phone at 300 yards. He doesn't miss. He's been his whole life. So he's crouched down maybe at 30 yards. He takes a shot for its neck. That's what you do. We hear the thump that it's been hit. Nothing. It's still sitting there looking at us. I'm sitting there looking at it while he's shooting there, and I see the blood splatter from its neck. Like, because that's how good our thermals were, is you can see the blood when it hits. Nothing. It's just sitting there looking at us, and we're like, that's weird. That's really weird. And he's like, did I miss? And I'm like, no, you didn't. And it's still standing and looking at us. And he's like, well, what do you mean? It should be dead. His AR was chambered in 308. That's a pretty big hunting round. That'll knock anything down pronto. And I'm like, and kind of all of a sudden, I swear I get this like overpowering, like, I've never smelled I've smelled like rotting animals. I've never smelled like a human body rotting, but I swear it almost had the smell of like someone like dead or something. It was so weird, and it was almost kind of a musky smell too. It was strange. It was like sickly sweet, kind of musky. And I'm like, I think maybe we should just like turn around and pretend like we didn't see this and this didn't happen. And he's sitting there thinking I'm being dramatic and everything, but I'm like, dude, just look at your thermal, look at the ground below it. You can see the blood that it splattered on the ground, and it's still standing there looking at us. And he's like, and he can see where he hit it. And he kind of looks at me, and we don't even say anything. We just turn around, and we just kind of walk. We walk back, and the whole time we're kind of walking backward almost, like kind of switching between walking forward and backward, looking at it, because we're like kind of freaked out at this point. Well, about halfway there, it was just gone. So I was just like, yeah, no, we're not. I'm just going to pretend like I didn't see that, and I'm not going to talk about it, and because no one's going to believe me. Someone's going to say, oh, well, you were on something, or, you were drunk or whatever. And I'm like, no. And I think, I had been hunting since I was probably 13 or 14. And because that's just what you did. And I had never seen anything like that. I've shot plenty of hogs. I've never shot a deer myself. I don't really believe in doing that. I hunt hogs. That's my thing. And hogs are much sturdier animals. And that round that deer should have died instantly. That was right in the neck. That's where you're supposed to shoot it. Humane. And instant kill, and just didn't even. It was really the smell that freaked me out the most. I'm like, and to our knowledge, there had been nothing else that had died in the field or anything recently. And it wasn't like, oh, you can kind of smell it because it's far away. It was like overpowering.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I believe you.
Yeah.
I don't think you're crazy.
Yeah.
I totally.
So that's
wild.
when I remembered what my grandma had always told me, because she'd always told me. And she, like, when I was younger, she never really went into detail, but she was like, if you're going to be in the woods, especially at night, even if you're not alone, take a gun. So, and she's like, always said, hey, if you're in the woods, don't whistle. Don't whistle. Don't go alone. Don't go without a weapon. Know the area you're going. Really don't be out, late at night.
Thank you for listening. This has been Talk with a Hawk. And don't miss out on our next episode, where students talk about their experiences with midterms and advice on how to tackle tests in the future and those upcoming finals.